Welcome to the UnderMike show. Permanently recurring Sam Cavallari, Mr. USFL. How are we
That's
doing?
what I got. Permanently recurring special guest. We got both USFL and XFL underway. Hit the USFL. That if we would have lost that game, we can talk about it. I would have lost it. We took an awful beat as usual lately in the XFL. Hopefully, I know you personally won on the game.
Yeah.
By the time you played it was up to 2.5. I think pretty much most places were at 2 by the time we aired the show. So most people probably pushed, but we're going to still count it because when we said it on the show, it was 1.5 as a loss.
Yeah.
I was just, got up right away, 12, 14, nothing, and ended up blowing it and losing by 2.
So, I started watching the game. It was god awful. I made it a point. I am not watching any of the games we bet on anymore.
Yeah, because I'm just a curse in general of everything, but apparently when you watch is when it curses. So, so I know last week you didn't have any plays out there. So 25-11 still plus 12.9. I split. I had it up too. USFL Sam.
You know me too well.
Splits the drop 0.1 units. So my record's 25-18 plus 9.05. So we hit the 50 win mark, 50 wins and 28 losses overall, plus 1.95, and still holding on to some positive units to XFL. I got to update that through the US. I could just put USFL/XFL plus 1.65 units. It was an interesting week. So a lot of things to go over. I want to talk a little bit too about the XFL season. This is the final regular season week. But let's go into, I don't know, anything you see out there in terms of weather for, either of the leagues here.
It doesn't look like a lot going on this week. Got XFL, both dome teams are home again, St. Louis and San Antonio on Saturday. Sunday, we got games at Arlington and at Seattle. Arlington, it does look a little breezy, 10 to 20 with showers, but the way this has been going, we need something more if we're going to bet on an under here. Seattle looks okay. Chance of showers, no big issues with wind or anything like that. I will keep an eye on the Arlington forecast if that would change at all, if that would get windier. But yeah, as of now, there's no plays there. The USFL, we got home Saturday. We got games at Birmingham, both games, and then the Sunday games are at Canton. Birmingham looks beautiful on Saturday. We got Houston versus the Breakers, and Memphis versus Birmingham.
Okay.
And at Canton on Sunday, we got New Jersey at Pittsburgh and Michigan at Philadelphia. And it looks like it's going to be a bit chilly there, under 50, 10 to 15 mile per hour winds in Canton. But again, it's nothing that we're going to post any plays on or do anything with unless something would change dramatically. But so no plays again for me this week. But of course, interested to hear how you see things from your side.
Yeah, so I wanted to discuss a little bit just quickly, and it's kind of tough, the XFL playoff picture. It's super complicated. I'll quick go over, what we know, so to speak. So DC's locked up the North. They only have one loss this year, and that was when we had them against Orlando. So
yes.
The strange thing now, 8 teams are in this. The top 2 in each division make it. I think they'll change it next year to just the division winners make it and the top next 2 anywhere, because right now this year, the next 2 best teams are clearly St. Louis and Seattle, but they're in the same division as DC. So only one of them can make it. They're tied right now. There's a lot of scenarios going into that tiebreaker. Matty Fresh, who's is a guy I follow on Twitter. He does a great XFL video every week too. He's broken down this like a 20-minute video. That's how complicated the tiebreaker is, because they're into like the fourth tiebreaker, potentially going to the fifth. So there's a lot of scenarios there, but I know part of it's coming down to how much their opponents have scored this year. So if Vegas scores 7 more than Orlando does this week, because they're each going against Seattle and St. Louis, then St. Louis, I believe, ties up tiebreaker 4, and it goes to tiebreaker 5. So there's some crazy stuff going on. Houston's locked up the South. So DC and Houston really don't have anything to play for. Arlington's currently in second in the South. San Antonio's in third. Orlando's dead. And in the other division, Vegas is dead.
Right.
But San Antonio could still catch Arlington for second. So this week, the lines I wrote down, it was earlier today. So again, it's possible things move a little bit, but I had DC -3 against San Antonio, St. Louis -8.5 against Orlando, Arlington -1 favored over Houston, and Seattle -8.5 over Vegas. A lot of these lines already kind of have baked in some of like this, the scenarios, because you figure Houston has nothing to play for, so that's why they're a 1-point dog to Arlington. Knowing what I know in the St. Louis and Seattle tiebreakers, and the first game of the week is the St. Louis game, so them coming out first. And again, this could just be not the right thought, but I feel like it is. I really like St. Louis -8, -115 at FanDuel. So that's going to be my first play of my 2 XFL plays, and then I'll put it up here and give you the second right away. Vegas +8.5. That's also on FanDuel. So on one side, I'm taking St. Louis, who's got to win, obviously, to have a chance against Seattle. And on the other side, I'm going against Seattle, taking Vegas +8.5. And the reason for that is Orlando's going against St. Louis. I think St. Louis is very capable, and St. Louis is at home, very capable of shutting down Orlando, and Orlando may just roll over and die. I know they got a big win for them last week, and I feel like they might have played that game as like their Super Bowl. And this week, going into a tough environment against a hungry team, I think St. Louis has blowout potential here. And knowing one of the tiebreakers as well is for St. Louis, I believe, points scored and also how much they give up. I really think they are going to buckle down here, and if every opportunity to score and run it up, they will. Now, on the flip side, you're saying, well, why wouldn't Seattle do the same against Vegas? I'm not saying they won't, but I've just liked this Vegas team since they made the move to McClendon at quarterback. And, in this spot, Vegas getting the 8.5, I don't think Seattle's D is nearly as good. And plus, I just love that environment, that St. Louis home field environment. So those are my 2 XFL plays. If you're listening out there, and I'll put it on, I'll hit him up on Twitter so people can, if they're following me and they want to see his video, check it out, because he really explains the scenario well, but it takes forever to do. So, but yeah, it's really interesting. So those are my XFL picks, and that's what I'm trying to take advantage of, kind of what we know there. Yeah. So let me get to USFL since I'm undefeated there. Let me put up here my USFL plays, and I'll title these to make it simpler. And these are going to be, again, I looked at these and saw these odds available at MGM. Again, this could have moved. I did it a few hours ago. Hopefully it didn't, because this one line is real juicy. But all right, so they're up on the screen now, and I'll talk through them real quick. And there's just, let me tell you, so I watched a fair amount of this week 1, which I think is key. New Jersey last week, actually, they lost by 17 to the champs from last year, Birmingham. They actually outgained Birmingham 361 to 310. So a 17-point loss, but they outgained them. They were a little bit less on a per play. They had 5.8 yards per play versus 6.3 for Birmingham, but it shows it was a competitive game from a yardage standpoint, line of scrimmage standpoint. They ran the ball 30 times for 197 yards, which was phenomenal.
Wow.
They played 2 quarterbacks, which I kind of didn't expect. I was frustrated last week because I played some DFS with the New Jersey quarterback Johnson, who split time with Prukop. Prukop ended up coming in, going 13 to 17 for 148 yards. Johnson was only 4 of 13, but Johnson's better on the ground. He had 45 yards rushing. I really think this this line, and it's gone to 3, I know, in some places, and I would still play it at 3. They're going against Pitt, who I watched also, and that Pitt team is garbage. That was the team that almost covered to screw us last week. We had
I was going to say that's who we played against last week.
We're going to play them against again, and
they were
I don't
really
have
bad.
it on here, but this New Jersey play is a 2-unit play. Listen to me, like this Pitt team is bad, and I think it's misleading that they only lost by 7 last week because they lost 22 to 15 with 2 defensive / special team scores. They couldn't put the ball in the end zone on their own. They averaged 3.3 yards per play. Their quarterback was 10 for 27 for 72 yards. They only held the time of possession for 22 minutes. I love this New Jersey play here. So that's a 2-unit play. And then I'm going back to my New Orleans Breakers. I love my Breakers. They're my team.
Breakers, baby.
Breakers. I'm going to get a Breakers jersey, I think. So they last week, they should have won that game by more. But the key, Bethel Thompson, the guy we talked about last week, I said, came back to the from the CFL. He was really bad early, and then when he found it, and he looked sharp. So I like him a lot, considering last week the team they're going against, which they're going against Houston this week. Last week, Houston allowed, I believe it was the Michigan quarterback, Love, to go 18 for 20 passing. 18 out of 20 in this league for 215 yards. Stevie Scott, who I touted on DFS, had a great week, 12 carries, 61 yards, and a touchdown. This is another game. I almost made these both 2-unit plays, but we're just going to go two on Jersey, 1 on New Orleans. Those are my plays in the USFL. They're available at MGM, and I think these are some solid plays. So
I like it. You seem excited about these, so I'm.
Yeah, I did a lot.
You even like their uniforms, right?
Yeah, like I said, I put in a lot of work. It's frustrating sometimes when you don't get the results because you put in a lot of work watching and studying, and but hey, while we split last week, it could have easily been 2-0. I was very happy at my DFS picks. So recapping that, Tyler Vaughns I gave out at 4,500. He had 6 catches for 63 yards and a 2-point score. So he finished at 14.3 points. He was the 8th best overall wide receiver last week. And only Nick Holley and Marcel Aitman were better value at wide receiver. So I gave out basically the number 3 wide receiver at value last week. And also, we mentioned USFL DFS lock was Stevie Scott. In the big tournament, he only came in at 7.97% owned. He had 61 yards rushing, a catch for 13 yards, a touchdown. He was the 4th overall running back in scoring at 14.4. And when you factor in that he was only 5,300, he was the best scorer per dollar other than the other running back, Pledger, that scored 2 touchdowns. So 2 really good DFS picks last week, which makes me happy. This week, I have 2 as well, 1 in each. I don't know if they'll do as well, but all right, what do we got here? I only caught I didn't catch. I'm just looking at chewing again. I can't be that. It was a knife into a Now you're giving off almost like it's a chewy thing, but the knife kind of made me feel like it was like a cut up piece of fruit, like a pineapple or something. But Now I see some glaze on the knife, and the glaze would indicate maybe some type of cheese substance.
Yes, it is.
It's interesting how I get to what you're eating based off.
Yeah, it's amazing how you talk it through and kind of get there. But
so
what kind of cheese is it?
that's what's like. The color from here would appear to be a cheddar. It's yellow, but the way it's kind of like coming off is slightly baffling. But it's. I mean, you're definitely that. First death. You're definitely chunking it off of it looks like some type of block or something.
A block, yeah. I cut a piece of a block off of here. That was actually the last piece I have of it. So
was it cheddar or?
No, it's not cheddar.
Yeah, what was it?
It's a block of Velveeta.
A block of That's great. And in my head too, I kept thinking soft cheese, soft.
It's very, yep.
I never, when I think of cheese, I never think of Velveeta because I don't like Velveeta really.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that's great.
Because you saw like the on the knife, that was what kind of really got you into
the
right direction. And I mean, you got cheese. I mean, it was good. I thought the overall texture or whatever of the cheese would throw you off a bit.
It did.
Like normal cheese, and
right, it wasn't like a slice.
How familiar or whatever with Velveeta you are. But yeah, it's just a block of Velveeta. I just eat that from time to time on its own.
Now, when we talk Velveeta, I think of smooth, and when I think of smooth, I think of my pick, Sal Cannella, $6,400 this week. I have no idea why he's only $6,400. Arlington is in a must-win game against Houston. He went 7 catches for 92 yards last week. The Arlington secondary is beatable. This guy might be really high owned, which is the thing that scares me a little bit, but it's just too cheap not to take. Sal Cannella, 6,400, XFL, DFS lock. And then USFL, I feel like DK doesn't know what to do with any of their pricing because I feel like there's so many good steals out there pricing-wise. And, that sometimes leads to them being really high owned. I ended up going with Sage Surratt. He's on New Orleans, and I was following him intensely last week watching a game because I remember watching him in college, and I thought he could really do some damage, and he did. He was even cheaper last week, but he went 5 catches, 85 yards last week, and showed good rapport with McLeod Bethel Thompson, and he's 4,200. So, again, for me, he's another lock. Other guys I considered, if you're looking at other spots, on my team that cashed last week, I had Gray from Philadelphia. He went 7 for 77 yards and a touchdown, 6,800. To me, that's still too cheap. And then the other guy that's probably going to be loaded up on is Jace Sternberger, former Green Bay Packer. He was 5 for 62 and a touchdown, only 4,700. And I feel like in the USFL, like these tight ends are like really big safety blankets for some of these quarterbacks that, are trying to, limit their mistakes. So I actually picked the tight end in both leagues, Sal Cannella and Sage Surratt. So that's my pick there. That's sums up pretty much everything. I like I said, I try 4 plays I give out. I know it seems like a lot, but I just like a lot. Like there's a lot to like. 5 units in total out there. So even though UnderMike doesn't have anything out there, I got plenty out there for you. You're still going to town on the Velveeta?
No, we got new cheese now.
Oh, what is that? Is this regular? Like just like what cheese is that? It looks like some white and some yellow to that.
Orange.
Oh, orange. Okay, it's hard. Munster?
Yeah, Munster. Yep. Just some cheese and pretzels we got here.
I don't know if you had any ring bologna to go with it,
Yeah, I didn't have any, but pretzels will do for now.
So we're counting down. We'll be doing the giveaway right before the XFL championship game, and the XFL championship game is close because you figure they're going to have this last week, 1 week of playoffs, and then the finals. So,
and that's what in Arlington, right? Or
yeah, we'll do the drawing the week of the first week of the playoffs. We'll do the drawing, and then so that's exciting. Hopefully with the USFL having about 8 more weeks, we catch some weather that you can go after. But if not, hey, this is keeping us going, and it's been still profitable. Between the two sports, where we're up over a unit, and we're having fun doing it. So
yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to continuing on, and we'll be around through the USFL, and then I guess we'll
college
look forward to the college and NFL season.
I feel like college is where you use so many opportunities.
Yeah, I can't wait.
That's when you're going to be going nuts. So
that first week of college football, my favorite. It's like, all right, all of a sudden we got all these teams, and then I really like the first big
hurricane season.
Yeah, no, they're a little hard to forecast. But the first really big cold snap, it happened this year where it was the Big Ten games got just nailed with cold and wind. I mean, 10 to 15 degrees. I feel like they're just not ready for that, and pounded a lot of unders and did really well. And of course the big win games, when you get that. Big Ten also had a bunch of those the 1 week. You remember the Ohio State game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, that's what we're looking for. But yeah, unfortunately, I haven't really got that with any of these games yet. Hopefully to get a couple of them here coming up in the near future. But if not, we'll just keep going with your winners and move ahead.
All right, I got nothing else.
All right, that is all. Have a good evening.